Cupix is essentially a spatial intelligence platform. Many people that heard about Cupix may be thinking of site documentation, 360 video capture, but it's really evolved into so much more than that. Our platform understands your as-built conditions.
Could you, in a simple way, why someone would use this and what is it replacing? All right. Let's start by sharing your name and the company that you are with, and we'll jump into our conversation here.
Sure. Yeah, I'm Chuck Pfeffer. I'm VP of Marketing at Cupix.
Awesome. Well, super excited to have this conversation with you today. Our goal is sharing what new technologies are out there. We want to bring awareness to the community online of what's happening in the industry. So share a little bit about what you guys do.
Yeah, so Cupix is essentially a spatial intelligence platform. Many people that heard about Cupix may be thinking of site documentation, 360 video capture, but it's really evolved into so much more than that over the years. I've been there close to 3 years now. Just seen significant change in the solutions that we can provide. So when I say spatial intelligence, it means that we basically can capture the as-built world and make sense of it and understand it and create value for our customers from that information.
That's awesome. And I know there's a lot of places that these technologies are getting adopted. What are some of the industries that you see really heavily digging in and adopting the technology?
Yeah, well, our bread and butter has been the construction industry, and that really, the actual applications, which types of structures and buildings and factories are being built changes based on, what's hot in the market. Like today, data centers are, what's being built and driving the economy today based on the growth of AI. But the construction was our bread and butter because what we originally offer is a way to easily capture a site over and over and over again, quickly, efficiently, and accurately enough to make decisions for construction. And so that was a no-brainer, and that's really where the product grew into that market space. But along the way, we developed a much more accurate point cloud, which allowed us to do more things in understanding the progress of a construction site, of a project. So that platform brings in the BIM and aligns to the BIM. It brings in the project schedule. It aligns the project schedule to the BIM. So each time you walk a site, you're getting, updates, in almost in real time. Basically, the next day you'll see exactly what is happening on the site, and anyone who's involved in a project can go and look at that. So I think the key to what's advanced is the scalability of that, because the more AI that we've built into the product, the faster and more efficient and more accurate it is, the more easily you can grow it to use it on much bigger projects and also to use it on many, many projects all at the same time and have it all accessible in one platform.
That's awesome. I want to actually go simplified now.
Sure.
For the people who one of our initiatives and goals is also educating people that maybe don't even know about any of these technologies yet. Could you, in a simple way, describe what the process is of why someone would use this? What does the actual capture process look like? And what is it replacing?
Right. Yeah. So I mentioned that was our bread and butter, was construction. But what we found is within those construction companies, we saw a wide range of usage, starting from pre-construction, even just bidding on projects, all the way to the management of the facilities after they were completed. And so we have added a lot of functionality to serve those parts of our customer base. The reason we're here at GeoWeek, actually, and that we've been here for the last few years, is we're targeting a new market, which is a much more diverse group of customers who really just want the core capability of Cupix, of that ability to capture something fast and easily and have it accessible in a collaborative platform. And so that could be architects. It could be people who are already doing survey work, but want to expand their business to be able to do things on a lower cost basis and more frequently. And so that opens it to we have people who are doing property line disputes in England using it. They wouldn't have contracted a laser scanner to help with that.
Yeah.
You know, we have people doing, you know, upgrades to facilities, manufacturing facility, but, or, you know, may not have the budget to really do a scan, but now they can get a full lay of the land with a walk themselves. So it's that end of the market, this do-it-yourself, which is the Cupix Vista product that we're showing here mainly. It can appeal to anyone who needed reality capture and couldn't really do it before. For the reality capture professionals, there's a different business case. It's now they can supplement what they do. You know, they may have a LiDAR, they may have a terrestrial scanner. This is another level, just another way that they can collect data. You know, they can bring in an intern to use this system. It's very easy. So that's one of the advantages. Also, it's much faster than the others, and it doesn't require any point cloud registration or anything like that either. So it's just simple to use. And it's based on that's just a subscription-based product that you don't need to deal with a salesperson. You just buy your camera and start using it.
And that's actually that was going to be my next question for those that don't know. What cameras do people buy, and what are the price points for someone to get into that, to get started, where, you know, it's kind of, it's a lot easier of a price point. So what does that look like?
Yeah. So, I mean, when people are looking out there like, oh, I want to do scanning, and they start looking, you know, the mobile LiDARs are 20, 30,000 or more. The terrestrial LiDARs are 30 to 100 grand. So they maybe don't even investigate past that. The primary device we use is a $500 camera. And we support the Insta X5 is the current one that's the latest model from Insta. We also support the Ricoh Theta X, which is a little bit more. But if you're a Ricoh customer or for some reason you want to stick with that, we support that. We work closely with both of those manufacturers. We use the phone to actually configure the camera before you do each scan to make sure it's set the way we need it. Because nobody else is really creating a point cloud from that data the way we are and with that quality. But part of that is that we need to work with the camera supplier to make sure the firmware you know, we work with their updates and make sure it always works well. So yeah, it's the $500 camera is really the key to the, you know, it removes that barrier of entry. Also, you know, just scheduling someone to do the work for you is another hurdle, you know, to get that done, especially like with architects we see, you know, they don't have the budget for it. If they want to hire someone, maybe they could squeeze that, but then they miss something, they have to go back. It's another cost. So a subscription to something like Cupix Vista just lets them scan whatever they want to their heart's content. And, you know, like a room is a 1-minute scan. You know, a house is a 10-minute scan. It's really simple and easy.
What are some of the challenges that you still hear, even with as simple as your platform is or the adoption is? What are some of the, you know, things that you hear as resistance, as maybe why people would still be hesitant to get into any platform like this?
So I think the biggest feedback I get where it's like someone says, I'm never going to use that, is a professional laser scanner, you know, contractor or company, because they're very proud of the accuracy that they've achieved, and it's amazing what they've done. And I understand that, and I worked for companies that sold those before, and I was proud of them too. I was amazed by them. I think for one, they don't realize what our data looks like. It's much cleaner than they probably remember when 2 years ago, and it's accurate to 99% of their accuracy, which is not as good, but for but there's a majority of applications out there that could make use of that data. It's accurate enough for those applications. And maybe they weren't considering that as part of their business, but they could, and they could scale their business with that. So that there's a resistance there just because I think it's a little bit of pride. It's a little bit of, we only do high-end work. This could be for high-end work too, especially on large scale projects. The other thing I'd say to them is just throw one of these in your backpack, and for the price of that subscription, you can scan something that you're going to do a laser scan on. It might take you weeks. You could do the whole thing in a day, and then that'll help you plan. Also quote and then plan that job and make more money on that job for yourself. So, you know, it's as a support product. You know, like the construction companies, like I said, they use it day to day for high end use, but their business development people just use it for a one-off scan to bid on the project.
Yeah, totally. That's where I think this mindset of anytime there's a new innovation or a new technology, a lot of people tend to try to look at it as a replacement to something. And I think instead it's often that it's just created this new opportunity to fill a certain area of a gap. when you look at trying to repeat capture of a site, right, it is expensive when you get into higher end, capture, and maybe you still need a high end capture for a certain accuracy or something. But now to have progress updates and things that it's just sometimes is not reasonable to do with bigger, more expensive devices and the data processing time and all of that. So,
well, our main product supports all of those inputs. So you could do your laser scan once a quarter. You can do your drone flight once a month, and you can do your ground-based camera capture twice a week.
Yeah.
And that all sits together with your BIM and your project. And it's accessible to anyone. You can make it available to your subcontractors, to your customers, to a global entity, looking at many projects. So it just becomes a very powerful collaborative tool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I'd say the what I led in with at the beginning was I said we're a spatial intelligence platform. And the Cupix Vista side is really the core that just creates our, that easy access to data. But it's really what we're doing now and going forward this year, releasing a lot of capability based on AI and the understanding of your site. And so, being able to identify objects, which is everybody knows you can easily identify objects with AI, but being able to know your objects, train the objects that you care about on your job site, whether it's for safety or for quality or for progress. Or, and with those facility managers for asset management, we're, integrated with asset management systems for basically that's more of a digital twin type of application. And also just a large language model. So Cupix Compass is something that we announced last fall, and it's in beta testing right now. But that's basically being able to just query your project just like you would, ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And so that's, it's like, what's the status of the HVAC on the third floor? And it will give you, can you show me some of the issues with that? And show images and everything. So it's just, and we're testing that right now with customers. That will be out this year. So that's really our direction, is that we give, our platform understands your as-built conditions and can answer any question that you need, and even, show you where you might need to look or where you might have an issue or where you can benefit more value in your project.
That's awesome. That's cool to hear you're working on that. I have a lot of conversations around what's the future look like and people asking things like that. And I'm like, I'm excited for when the software platforms get to the point you can, just like you do with ChatGPT, you have a conversation with your project and with your data, because part of the biggest, I think, challenges in the industry in whole is still that we have so many types of devices that capture so much data, but it's still hard for certain companies to use that data well. When you got drone mapping data over here and LiDAR data here and BIM models, and like this ecosystem is still kind of complex and technical, and the ability for platforms to be able to simplify the process for more users to get more out of that data, I think is the biggest area for opportunity and growth. So it's going to be cool to see where that goes. Yeah.
So regardless of whether you're in the field and you want to do something locally, very specific that you want to know, or you're, at a high corporate level and you just want to get a status, you can just ask those questions. And we have customers using that right now. It's in a testing phase, but it will be available soon.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, as we start to narrow toward the end of our conversation, I'm curious, when you think future, like, do you see any big drastic changes coming in the next few years? What are you looking forward to here in the next few years?
Yeah, I think it's the automation of what we can do with AI is going to make things so much more scalable and easier to deploy. So I think we'll just see, to your point, that if it's easy enough to use, more people will use it. So I think we'll see, a lot more adoption of this as-built information, and it's sort of all the details and expertise you used to need to make sure your laser scans were good and registered, and your BIM was aligned, and your project made sense to the BIM. All that, the automation we're doing on that will continue to improve the scalability, the speed, the turnaround time of that, to make it instantly available, will, I think, help that grow. That's basically leveraging everything that we're teaching the system with AI, I think. And that's, across all places,
Yeah.
all different industries. That's just going to be the biggest impact. I'd say, no doubt.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very exciting time to be in this industry, working with these technologies. I mean, seeing what is possible with AI and pulling that in. I think it's going to be a pretty wild next few years as people continue to dig in. So
yeah, anytime I think of something that I would ask someone to do, and then I just ask, ask AI to do it. I had an employee who had we had a last minute thing. I mean, this is an LLM thing, but like we had a video, we wanted to write a script over it.
Yep.
And like the guy who was going to do it was sick. And I said, anybody have bandwidth to do this? So maybe I can get it done by tomorrow afternoon. 5 minutes later, it's done. He can just edit it now, you know?
Yeah.
So.
No, it's very cool. And I think that's what's one of the most interesting things about any technology, from the LLMs and the AI side to even platforms and cameras and whatever, is you can just get creative on what kinds of problems you want to solve using that technology. It's really, you know, there's so many possibilities on what could be done.
Yeah. I mean, you can imagine, because our platform holds the laser scan, the drone captures in orthomosaics, the ground capture, all the models, you know, all the different models that are brought together and aligned. And we can bring in all the documentation on the job and the project information. And all of that then is what our Cupix Compass you can ask it anything about the project at that point.
It's very cool. I'm looking forward to seeing more about it. Where can people learn more or find more about you guys?
Yeah, Cupix.com is our main website. That's where everything is. Like I said, today here we're showing Cupix Vista, which has a separate website. So if you want to get in as to try reality capture for the first time, or you want to try the 360 video on your own, that's CupixVista.com. So Cupix.com for the Cupix company, and CupixVista.com for the free trial of the, if you want to go get a $500 camera and scan your house and your property, you can do that and have it ready in a few hours.
Sweet. Well, we'll make sure we share those links with people, and thanks for coming to share what you guys are up to.
Thank you very much.
All right. Have a good rest of the show.
You too.